Welcome to the Action Network podcast. I am your host, Evan Abrams, and I am joined, as always, recap episode, best episode. Of course, it's Brandon Anderson. We are here for week 16 in the action. Time to go back and forth, him and I, between some topics, some trends going on in the league right now, and a few of these have some Christmas twists to them. Merry this season. But Brandon, what's up before we move on?
Yeah, it's near Christmas season. I had an early Christmas last evening. I've got another Christmas tonight. We got Christmas games. We get games on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Saturdays and Fridays and coming up all over the place. It's festive season. I got the Grinch shirt on today. Hopefully no Grinch on our picks today, but excited to get towards the holidays. Not quite yet, I know, but we got some Christmas questions here. We'll get to a Christmas look-ahead special at the end, added to the usual look-ahead. So ready to have a little fun and hopefully get back on the horse with some of these picks, too.
Yeah, we're going to nail these. So we got a lot of stuff in this pod. We have a lot of bets, a lot of different conversations. So let's get to it. So with the Christmas theme, what Christmas gift would you buy for really any Super Bowl contender? What is the thing you think they need this holiday season? Brandon, I'll let you go first. I think we were kind of on the same page here since you wrote about it.
Yeah, I mean, I have to go with the low-hanging fruit here, the low-hanging stockings, perhaps, I suppose, to stick with the theme. You just got to get the Lions some health. Like, this stinks, man. The team has been so fun this season. Action app now has the thing out where you can check and see kind of your recap from the year. What did you win? How'd you do? My best team on the season in any sport is the Lions. We've been having fun backing the Lions this year, and now everybody is getting hurt, man. It stinks. Aleem McNeil, so good at D tackle. Their cornerback is just getting thinner and thinner. They're down to just like 3 guys left, really. They're also now one more injury away from disaster at this point. Like, they're now to a spot where the next name, Amon-Ra, rolls the ankle, or one of those star safeties or something. That's like, okay, we're cooked now. There's nothing left. So I got a whole article up talking about just how much those injuries have added up. Obviously, David Montgomery at running back as well. They still got Gibbs. That still makes a difference to me because you lose the Thunder Lightning. You lose what's keeping one of them fresh to get the other one have the fresh legs. I think that will wear down. I just want to see the Lions actually be a Super Bowl contender. I'm afraid that they may not be anymore. I feel like they are a lot closer to the rest of the NFC now, and that's kind of what my article concluded. The injuries this week, the 3 big ones, Carlton Davis at corner, McNeil, and Montgomery, those 3 injuries for me drop the Lions just under a field goal in power rating. Like, that's like losing your quarterback for most teams. That is a huge deal. The Lions, like a field goal in any game, that's a pretty big difference. Lions are going to have to win shootouts now. So check the article out. I talk about like how to fade the Lions, investing in other futures. I've got one of those coming up. But as a fan and as a bettor, I just wish the Lions could be healthy so we could see this team have their real chance here. They're not dead yet. They're just much closer to the rest of the pack now. What Christmas gift would you give out?
Well, just on the Lions, I think as bettors, we look for compound injuries, right? Like usually one injury doesn't do the job. It's the injury and then the injury to the backup and then, both of them go on IR. So I think what the Lions are experiencing is just compound injuries. Like if it was just Montgomery, I think we'd be having a different story, but it's definitely not that case. Mine was pretty simple. Obviously it was Detroit, but it was also Houston's offense. I kind of want to get them some like rhythm or dancing lessons, maybe something to get them back on the same page. So since week 10, they're 26th in EPA per play on offense, 32nd last in success rate, and they are actually bottom 8 on offense in dropback and rush EPA and success rate since week 10. So it just feels like a completely different team that their defense seems to be on the same page lately, but their offense isn't there, and they're going to get in the playoffs. So you're going to see them, and they're going to be mostly at home, at least to start. So we'll see what happens there with Houston. All right, next category. What would you give to these bottom feeders? So I'll let you go first. Basically, any team in the NFL kind of at the bottom right now, 3 games to go. But what do you think they need the most?
So maybe not quite a bottom feeder here. We got some true bottom feeders this year. Like some of the choices are obvious of just like, okay, well, let this team keep losing out so they get the high draft pick, all that sort of thing. I'm going to give something to the Cowboys. And I'm going to give them the gift of firing Mike McCarthy. It is time. Move on. Why didn't you do it last year? It was time to start. Like, I give you a time machine to go back and try this again and get a real new coaching staff. In fact, I'm not just going to give you the gift of not McCarthy. I'm going to give you the gift of Ben Johnson. I don't know if Ben Johnson would actually go. He
Yeah,
wants
I
the
was gonna say.
control. I don't know he's going to go to Jerry Jones. Maybe I need to give him like Jerry Jones gift, if you know what I mean. But we'll leave that one out. I just want to give the Cowboys some real coaching staff. It's clear the talent is there. That's why they're not really a bottom feeder. I backed them last week. I'll be backing them again this week. We'll get to that one. The talent is so good on this roster still. They should be in the mix of things. And I think the coaching, I don't think is disastrous, but it's certainly not helping them. The Bengals come to mind as another team where I'd probably give them the gift of a fresh start as well. Go get a different coach. I don't know that the Zach Taylor thing is working anymore. I'm a little worried that teams like the Cowboys and Bengals are not bottom feeders and are just enough not to run it back one more time and get the retread coach situation. I sort of feel like that's what we did with McCarthy already. I'm giving Dallas the gift of not doing it again.
I think you're probably right with Dallas. I took a different angle here. I kind of want to get the Jets a new defensive coordinator, and I just gave them back Robert Saleh since honestly, since he's left, their defense has been literally terrible. I mean, they've allowed 23 plus points in 8 of 9 games. That's kind of just hard to do, especially with some struggling offenses on the other side. And the other one is to get some bodyguards in New England. Their blocking is just absolutely ridiculous. They're actually last in PFF grading in pass block and run block. And honestly, Drake May doesn't have a ton of pressures. So they really just need to get some help there. All right. Next topic up here. Which team / coach is getting coal in their stocking? You came up with this one. I laughed when I read it. You can go first, and then I have really only one coach I think that deserves it.
So I'm getting a little creative here, and also I'm sort of calling my shot on this one. And I'll be honest, I think this is just in the interest of wanting some drama down the stretch here. This might look dumb by the time you listen to this, because we're recording Thursday afternoon. We put this out over Friday night. The Broncos play the Chargers tonight. You'll have seen that game by the time this comes up. Who's getting coal in their stocking? The Los Angeles Chargers are going to Charger again and miss the playoffs entirely. That's who I'm giving coal to. I think they lose tonight. Am I bitter that the defense gave up 1 billion points last week after I finally believed in them? Yes, I am. I am bitter about it. The team has really regressed. They are not been able to run the ball at all without J.K. Dobbins, and the offense has cratered a little bit without him. Defense is not what it was. I think Denver is the better team right now and gets the win. We'll see if that happened. And the Chargers still have a soft schedule, but the Chargers still the Chargers too. And we know about Justin Herbert with the lead. I just feel like this team could blow a Thursday game, blow one more game. They already did it last week. And maybe for Christmas, we the fans get a little playoff drama here. And the field is not totally set. Could we get the Bengals making one last push? Could we get the Colts? Could they pull things together? The Dolphins, one of those teams. Give us some drama. So give some coal to the Chargers.
I mean, if you're rooting Thursday Night Football, I mean, everyone's got to be rooting for Denver, at least to make that race exciting and to have some drama late. My one was pretty easy. I always want to give the award to Zach Taylor since I think he's kind of holding them back in many ways, but that was too easy. So I'm going to just roll off a few stats, and then we can kind of guess which coach this is. So they're last in third down percentage on offense. They have the lowest percentage of drives ending in an offensive score. Their team is 8th in penalties. They're last in their division. And they're 30th in points per game.
Huh. My first
instinct,
instinct,
in their division kind of, gives you
I was going to say, options. Yeah, that narrowed it down. My first instinct was Antonio Pierce for the Raiders. Okay. Is that it?
Honestly, it's Stefanski, which is actually pretty interesting. So
wow.
It's good that you would have mentioned Antonio Pierce. Now, obviously, a lot goes into the Deshaun Watson start to the year, but even with Jameis, a lot of this stuff, has looked good in moments. It's also worth noting. First in EPA per play last year on defense. They're 17th this year. So I think a lot has changed on both sides of the ball there, but that's my answer. Okay, let's keep rolling here. Now this one, we're just simply giving out some bets. So Jingle Bills will be the way I will coin this because I think maybe somebody might pick Buffalo, maybe not, but Super Bowl finalist. What would be a bet to look into, a bet to invest in? Now it's funny, I think we might be on the same wavelength here, but I'm going to let you start.
Yeah, I like to call this bet the Matt Moore special. Matt was on hosting last week. Matt loves to bet these exact finishes with the exact two teams. It's not really my style, but it does give you some outs if you get a few different options here. I'm going to go with two teams that I've written about in the last 2 weeks that I wrote about how do we fade the Chiefs, and I wrote about how do we fade the Lions. My answer to how we fade the Chiefs is I think investing in the Baltimore Ravens with their odds as good as they're looking right now, even though they're in a possible wild card spot. We'll see how that looks. So, about a week from now, that could really flip. And then in the Lions, I think the fading them, a good way to do it is to invest in the Packers. Now, I said Packers plus 700 to win the NFC. Their odds are 14-1, or at least they were then, to win the Super Bowl. They wouldn't be 50-50 in the Super Bowl. They're going to be an underdog if they make the Super Bowl. So I'd rather just have the NFC on Green Bay. You can read the case on both of those there. I'll go Packers, Ravens. You've got it at 33-1. I'll take it a step further, though. I don't have the number on it, but if you're going to bet this Packers Ravens exacta, let's really be exact. Give me Ravens over Packers at the better odds. You can bet that at some books too. So find the number for that. That's my exact pick finish.
Yeah, I was looking similar to the Packers because I thought they probably offered the most value. So I thought Packers Steelers in being a rematch. Obviously, we've seen that one before. It was at 80-1. So I think looking a little bit down the line, obviously Pittsburgh's in prime position, and Green Bay would probably have to come out of one of the wild card spots. And the other one, which was a little more chalky, because I think we were both looking to fade Detroit and Kansas City, was Philly Pittsburgh, which is 37-1. If you like, I was also looking at Ravens Packers. So if you don't like Pittsburgh and think it should possibly be the Ravens in that spot, Ravens Packers is 33-1. But I think Philly Pittsburgh and Green Bay Pittsburgh were interesting. Just I trust Pittsburgh's defense when it comes to playoff time. I trust Tomlin in that situation over almost anyone else. And now you've got a quarter. Hopefully Pickens is ready to roll, but I think you have a quarterback in there that isn't necessarily what they've had before, which is someone that's going to give the other team the ball. I think he's poised, and honestly, he's looked much better than I thought he would coming over from Denver. So I just like the safe system they're kind of running there.
Yeah, I like too the Philly Pittsburgh. We obviously just saw that game last week. I would definitely like Philadelphia in that one. I picked them last week and they look pretty good. I like the idea of betting the narrative on this one too, that you get the Pennsylvania Super Bowl. Our old colleague Anthony DeBunda over at The Ringer has been talking about Pennsylvania is like the center of the universe right now. Everything is happening in Pennsylvania. So why not the Super Bowl be a couple Pennsylvania teams as well? Maybe they put it in Harrisburg for the Super Bowl or something like that. So I like the bet the narrative angle. The other thing too that I think we're kind of both getting at, that I just want to say more directly, I really feel like, and I know you've got the trends. We know the stat about like teams plus 1,200 or better at the start of the year win the Super Bowl. It's one of those like 5 favorites. And if it's not the Lions or the Chiefs, and it's not the 49ers, they're out. That might only leave 2 other options, which I believe is the Bills and the Ravens from the start of the year. So maybe it's just that. I can't shake the feeling that we're going to get at least one true underdog run to the Super Bowl. It just seems like these top teams are not quite elite separating from the pack. In the NFC, I think it's the Eagles now, but we know how they're kind of flawed with Jalen Hurts, so we'll see if they get the wrong matchup at the wrong time. And in the AFC, there's a little more protection because you got Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Steelers, maybe all at the top. But you've got some tough underdog runs there too. The Chargers, if they get in, the Ravens, if they're a 5 or 6 seed. So it just seems to me like I notice when I look at futures every week, I keep looking for the right spot and the right team to jump in and say, okay, this is my spot. And I don't know if it's the Packers just yet. I don't know if they're a Super Bowl winner. Maybe they are, but I'm wanting that team. A few years ago, I had the Niners a couple weeks before the end of the season where they weren't even quite a playoff team yet. They had to win their way in. That meant that the odds were juiced. I want that spot. I want that team. Maybe that's the AFC thing. Maybe like whatever it is, Bengals or Dolphins. I don't know if I can get there, but one of those teams winning their way in and like Burrow and Chase just going on a crazy run. I don't know who it is, but I just can't shake the feeling that there's going to be some underdog team. So I say that so that you listening at home, if you have that team, if you have a sleeper, I think the path is there. In either conference, I especially would love an NFC sleeper, but I think this is a good year to invest in that sleeper run in the playoffs.
We've also talked about home field advantage a lot on a lot of these podcasts, and I firmly believe that a road team can make a run, and it's not as difficult as we make it out to be. So I'm completely with you there. All right, final category before we go into your bets. This is just the award or division favorite right now, the chalk that you think won't win. So I have one category I thought was interesting. What's yours?
I still don't think Offensive Player of the Year is locked up for Saquon Barkley. I know that this is one we've talked about. Maybe this is betting with my heart because I've got Chase and I've got Henry, and I think those are the two other positions. Now, the way things are going, I wouldn't be shocked to see Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson make a push, the way that their numbers are piling up as well. Saquon had his worst game in a couple of months last week, and there are little rumblings that he's not totally healthy right now. And I'm not sure he's going to have a big closing stretch out here, especially if the Eagles don't really need to push very hard toward the finish line either. So Chase has had monster games and a monster season. He's going to be the receiving triple crown. Derrick Henry's been awfully quiet for like 3 games, but usually does super well December, January. I'm just not convinced OPOI is quite finished up just yet.
Interesting, because I was going to use that as a tease in a few seconds. My feeling there is Lamar might finish really, really well. Josh is obviously the MVP. I kind of shocked to see him at 42-1 to win Offensive Player of the Year if his numbers turn out to be fantastic. Baltimore gets into the playoffs, but Josh is obviously that side. It's just interesting that he's that far back in an award that kind of ends up mirroring that award. But that's probably a discussion for another day. My answer here was Coach of the Year. O'Connell's like minus 190 right now. Minnesota still has, I just had this. Right.
Seattle, Green Bay, and Detroit. I know that one.
There you go. So to me, there's chance for falter. And you've got Detroit with Campbell. If they somehow won a few games with all these injuries, you still have Sean Payton. If they win this game tonight on the road and they end up to 11, 12 wins, and Washington and Pittsburgh, I don't necessarily think Quinn could win it. But if Pittsburgh all of a sudden turn around and we expected them to, not do this, I think it's always interesting to give it to an old hat who potentially hasn't won it maybe a ton and, kind of exceeds expectations.
Yeah, I would have my eye on Sean Payton out of that group. We love to give it to first and second year coaches on a new team, so he fits that criteria. We love offensive-minded coaches, and he's going to kind of have some marquee victory possibilities here. Like every game is tough coming up. That means he could lose and fall out of it, but that also means like we just saw Denver get a big win. Everyone's going to watch them on Thursday night by the time that you've seen this or heard this podcast, and then there's still a couple more left after that. Denver gets to earn their way in. They're not going to win the division, but if the Vikings don't either, then I think that kind of takes that bullet away from O'Connell. And the Broncos, the Vikings were maybe a 500-ish team. The Broncos were supposed to be terrible. Like if you look at the expectations and the way that they've beat out their win-loss record from last year and their expectations, Peyton fits the profile of my kind of preseason Coach of the Year much better, I think, than O'Connell and some of the other options.
Yeah, I mean, it probably starts with Sean Payton and the Broncos winning at plus 120 tonight. So maybe that's the bet to start with. All right, let's go into your best bets. We're going to roll through these. So Rams Jets is your first one. The only note I had here is it looks to be about 27 degrees at kickoff. Total starts below 30 degrees. Aaron Rodgers, 34. Matt Stafford, 4. But take what you want from that.
I'm going to go with the Rams here. I'm coming out firing. I love the Rams in this game. So I'm going to take Rams -3, and we'll go a little escalator here that I'll get into. So I bet the Jets last week. We cashed the Jets last week against Jacksonville. We were lucky to have cashed that. We talked about that Sunday night. There's no way Jets should have cashed. They come from behind, and they were so bad defensively in that game against Jacksonville, against Mac Jones, who couldn't do anything for an entire month. Jets defense was so bad that by DVOA, they dropped season-long, 14 weeks into the year, they dropped from 19th to 28th in season-long defense in one awful game. That's how bad it was. I don't really feel like they were looking that good. Aaron Rodgers' stats look pretty good, but he did not pass the eye test, mostly just bombing it to Devontae Adams against the worst defense in the league. The Rams are not the worst defense in the league anymore. I said they were going to be before the start of the season. I was wrong. This pass rush, I think, is going to send Aaron Rodgers into an early retirement. And that's the escalator I'm going for here. Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Byron Young. I think these guys are going to be coming after Aaron Rodgers on that bad offensive line. Did not live up to billing. Tyron Smith was not good. He's out now. We got a rookie left tackle. The Jets last week scored 32 on Jacksonville, which they needed a late push to get there. Outside of that game, that was their season high. They're averaging 19 points a game for the season. So that's the offense. I think the Jets defense has been even more disappointing. Last 6 games, they're 29th. They're 28th overall in the season now. Last 6 games, they are dead last in the NFL against the pass. This feared secondary has just gone completely terrible. They gave up 25 points to Mac Jones. That was a month of Jacksonville points in one game. We know the Rams offense is good, and I think we kind of forgot because the last time we saw them, we tried to not see them. It was that ugly 12-6 Thursday night game with no touchdowns that ruined everyone's fantasy football playoffs. Game before that was 44 in Buffalo. This is a top 5 offense with these receivers healthy. Stafford kills sub 500 teams. The Jets are firmly a sub 500 team at this point. You mentioned Jets stats earlier. They've allowed 26 points or more 5 games in a row right now. That defense is not what it once was. Teams that have allowed at least 24 or more 5 in a row since 2018, 19 and 33 against the spread, 37%. So I love the Rams here. Rams -3. I'm going to send Aaron Rodgers to early Christmas retirement. So the Rams have 8 wins this year. 5 of them, over half, have been by 6 points. So I'm going to start the escalator at -5.5 plus 145. That's the main first escalator. The Jets have won only 4 games all year. They beat the Titans, the Patriots, the Jaguars. Who cares? These teams are terrible. They beat the Texans, who we know are not really that good. 3 of those 4 wins are by 1 score. All that's really left for the Jets is to get that one truly bottom falling out game. And I'm betting that this is the game. They've got lost by 22. They got lost by 25. So the rest of the escalator, Rams -3, Rams -5.5, win by 14 or more plus 360, win by 20 or more plus 750. We are fading Aaron Rodgers into oblivion. Goodbye, Aaron. Go enjoy Christmas. Retire. We're taking the Rams escalator.
And listen, if you're right, another bet you might want to look at is Rams alt sacks. I know there's going to be 5
Ooh,
plus
like
out
that.
there and 6 plus out there. So if your narrative kind of hits that, I think those should roll with it. Okay, let's keep going here. Browns, Bengals. The only tease with this is the fact that you mentioned it. Saquon's -750 to win Offensive Player of the Year. Chase is +410. Everyone's 20-1 or higher. So why do you like Chase here?
I love Chase here. I think that the Bengals are going to really want to make a push with Jamar Chase. The Browns have gone to the tank, so we're taking a Jamar Chase escalator here. We love our escalators. We're starting with them right out of the gates here. RIP Jameis Winston. We had fun, didn't we? We had a good ride. It's apparently Dorian Thompson-Robinson season now, which is code for the Browns are ready to tank and lose a lot of games. I can't get to -7.5 here, even as much as I downgrade DTR. He's not good, but the Bengals defense, I want no part betting on the Bengals defense. It's a pretty big indictment how bad the defense is that I am not quite willing to bet against DTR. However, if he gets sacked a bunch, if he turns it over a bunch, that makes it easy to get some points here. I did look at just the Bengals team total over 27.5. They've scored 27 or more in 6 straight games. So if you don't want the prop play, I like that one. But I noticed that the Bengals actually score better than 30 points a game on the season with T. Higgins in the lineup. Here's the thing that caught my attention about the T. Higgins thing, though. The Bengals and Jamar Chase, specifically, Chase has better stats with T. Higgins, not without. I would have thought that his numbers would go up because he's getting all the passes funneled to him. It goes the other direction. Now, he did have that one ginormous game against Baltimore, 263 and 3 touchdowns, no T in that game. But there are 4 other games without T. Higgins. He averaged under 49 yards a game, 1 touchdown in 4 games. 5 games all season, Chase has had under 70 yards. 4 of those were those games without T. Higgins. With T on the field, 106 yards a game on the season, 11 touchdowns in 9 games, at least 1 in 7 of those games. And the Browns have been top 5 most fantasy points allowed to receivers. They've allowed a touchdown to a receiver in 10 straight games. They've allowed 600-yard receivers. So I look at the lines here. What caught my attention? I wanted yards at first, but the line is 85, 88 and moving up. that's kind of the median. I want outliers on Chase. So I'd rather take just the touchdown, minus 130. Again, he's done that 7 of 9 games with T. Higgins out there. I like that number. Give me 2 touchdowns at 5-1. That number is half of that at some books out there. He's had 2 touchdowns or more in 4 of the 9 games with T. Higgins. That's almost half of them. We're getting 5-1. And then a couple more escalators. 150 yards is about 7-1. Give me that one at plus 710. And then the mega escalator, this sounds crazy, but 175 receiving yards and 2 scores. He's done that 3 times this year. Only in the entire NFL, it's been 4 times. He's 3 of the 4. It's plus 2,656. So 26-1 odds at 175 yards and 2 scores. Probably not. But if anyone's going to do it, wouldn't it be Jamar Chase doing it this weekend yet again? I think he's going to have a huge game.
Yeah, I think an interesting angle as well is like first half touchdown. I know some of those books offer it. And if the Bengals are going to go up and they're going to start firing, I would assume, I haven't looked at the splits, but to me, it might give you a little bit of a juice boost there. All right, Detroit and Chicago. So I knew this stat kind of entering this rundown and looking at kind of what you liked here. And when I first saw it, and I hope you have it as I'm setting you up here, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous that they're at this number. But Lions, Bears, what's your pick?
Yeah, I love the first half line on this game. So Lions first half, minus 3.5 points. We talked about the Lions already at the top with them fading with their defense. The defense thing is a big problem. Unless you're playing the Browns, then maybe, or playing the Bears, then maybe it's not such a big problem. We had a nice honeymoon for the Bears, right? Thomas Brown goes to the offensive coordinator. They had 2 really good games with him. Then they fire Eberflus, put Thomas Brown to head coach, where you got a lot more stuff to do. Don't get to give so much attention to calling the plays, and their offense is right back to terrible again. Even worse, the defense has been terrible because Eberflus was good at that part. Now, last 6 games, the Bears are the second worst defense in the league, bottom 3 against the run and the pass by DVOA. So it's all bad, especially the run defense. I think Jahmyr Gibbs could have a big game. I think Jameson could have a big game as well. Lots of trends like the Lions here, which is telling. Even in a road division game late in the season, you would think that's a Bears spot. Thanksgiving, we played this game not a month ago. What happened? Halftime, Lions 16-0. I'm a little sore about this one because they got the backdoor cover on Chicago, but 16-0 halftime that game. Since then, Bears Niners 24-0 at the half. Bears Vikings, we just watched it Monday night, 13-0 at the half. Let me do the math for you. 53-0 over the last 3 games at halftime. Average 11-point deficit since the Bears' last win in London at the half. They're averaging 4 points a game in the first half over that stretch. This offense is terrible early. Lions are 11-3 against the first half spread on the season. Bears are 4-10, worst in the league, including 0-7 on the road in the first half. I do like the Lions here with the Bengals if you want to just do a teaser on those full game. But for my Lions pick, I will take just the first half line, minus 3.5.
Yeah, last 3 seasons, Dan Campbell first half, 37-13-1, 74%, which is just absolutely absurd. All right, let's keep rolling here. Bills, Patriots. So I just thought this was very interesting, and it might actually lead into your play. But it isn't every day that you see a team close minus 14 or higher in consecutive games against the same opponent. And that's what's happening here, as the Bills, if they close 14 or more, already did it to the Patriots when they faced them last time. The only quarterbacks to do that in the last 20 years, it would be Josh Allen, Brock Purdy against the Cardinals, Brady, Mahomes, and Manning. So that is some list and just a kind of fun stat, but I think you're going that direction.
Yeah, I was looking at the 14 for the last 5 Bills wins against the Patriots are by 12 or more, average 14.8. So I think it's in that range, but not quite enough for me to like it sucks laying 14 points. As a bettor, you give up the 1 touchdown in the first quarter and you're like, oh my gosh, I need like 3 touchdowns right now to get back to even pushing my bet here. It's just tough to get there. I wanted under the 14, so I'm going to take another half bet, but I'm going to go second half on this one. Bills second half, minus 6.5. I think that's a mistake. They're letting us get under the 7 there, and that's why I was really liking this one. Patriots, I think, can maybe hang a little bit. They've been more bad than awful. I like Drake, man. I think he's been pretty good for them. Still a tough road spot for the rookie in Buffalo. Patriots have been the league's worst offense on the road this season. Buffalo's been the league's best home offense. So that's not great. I do think this is a letdown spot for Buffalo. We've been saying that for a bit, but they have like 4 big, huge wins in a row at this point. So if it's a letdown spot, maybe the Patriots hang around early. The Bills always close, though. Buffalo possibly could be playing to get into a 1 seed here if the Chiefs have lost on Saturday already. And the full game trend's kind of like the Bills anyway. They've won by 21 points 5 times this year, 5 times last year. They win big in games, but they often take the second half. Josh Allen, second half, we've had that stat a lot. 69, 35, and 3 ATS. 66%. That's 2 out of every 3 he's covering. This season, 12-2 against the second half spread. As a 13 or more point full game favorite, second half spread Allen is 9-2 ATS. They've won that second half by double digits 7 of those 9 times he's won. So I like it under the key here. I think that should be above it. Give me Buffalo -6.5 second half line.
Yeah, Drake May will keep you in the game, and then he'll take you right out. It's a bunch of those QBs right now. Even though, honestly, I talked about it earlier with his offensive line. I think he's playing fantastic. But Buffalo's defense also, I feel like, wants to make a statement at some point after allowing all these points. All right, your last best bet, Dallas and Tampa Bay. So the fun stat I had here was Todd Bowles has coached 17 games as a road favorite. When the home team scores 14 points or less, he's 5-0 ATS. When the home team scores more than 14 points, he's 3-8-1, losing 6 of those games outright. So to me, this game is just a bet on what you think Cooper Rush can do. And the Cowboys team totals like 22.5. So obviously the number makers think they can put up some points here.
Yeah, I'm going to take Dallas. We need a little something on that Sunday night game. It's not our best Sunday night game of the year, but give me Dallas +4. I don't love your framing, to be honest. I don't love that I'm investing in Cooper Rush a second straight week here. We bet the Cowboys last week. We got a very nice, easy win on the Cowboys. We faded the Bucs. That did not go so well, but let's hope that we get the together this week. Dallas's defense, last 6 weeks, borderline top 10 defense by DVOA. Pass defense has been really good. Micah Parsons being back in the lineup. It turns out having the best defender in football, perhaps, pretty good for your defense, it turns out. And Dallas has been above average running the football. Rico Dowdle did have a big game last week, like we talked about. I don't know if that's going to matter a lot here. Tampa's run defense pretty good with Vita Vea. Certainly helps a little bit. Dallas defense, pretty good against wide receiver 1, pretty good deep ball. I think that's good against Mike Evans. I said that last week for the Chargers. Didn't work out well, so hopefully it's a little better matchup this week. Bucky Irving's been good for Tampa. He's still banged up, and we never know if he's going to finish it game to game. So similar to last week, I just think the book number on the Cowboys is a little bit low here. I had them favored last week against Carolina. They clearly should have been. I have them more like Tampa +1 or Tampa -1.5 here. So we're getting a real value, a couple points of value and past the key number. I think it's just a really good sell high spot for the Bucs. Here's some trends that back that up. So they obviously just won a huge game last week as underdogs. Teams that win by 17 or more as underdogs of a touchdown or less. Next game, 63, 116, and 3, 36% against the spread. So that's one way to sell high. Here's another one. Road underdogs, that's Tampa, that covered, or road teams that covered as underdogs by 26 or more last week. So really surprised the spread. Those teams, 15, 38, and 1 against the spread, 28% since 2010. And then here's one more, a little different sort of trend, similar to one I know you have in your trends article this week. Week 16 and later, teams that are in the must-win spot, those kind of around 500 teams, you got to be careful. We know they need to win. We know the Bucs need to win. If teams have won in that span, 40 to 60% win rate, that's Tampa, and they're facing a team that's 8 to 25% worse. So basically, a 500-ish team playing slightly worse than that, probably a team that's just eliminated. Those teams are 29, 74, and 5 against the spread, 28%. That is a terrible number. If you look just season by season, this is a winning trend year after year. It's never finished in 2 decades of data more than one game below 500. We get like 4 to 7 of these games a year. This is one of them. There's a couple others this week as well. So I think it's just too many points for the Bucs. Baker as a favorite, 39% against the spread. I lean under on this game as well, so lower scoring. We're just going to take the points here, play the number, Cowboys +4 on Sunday night.
Yeah, Cowboys money line in the under, would be a fun Brandon Anderson type bet if he believes that that would go that direction. All right, lightning round here. We're going to go a little bit quicker. So Tennessee and Indy. Listen, we know Tennessee can't cover the spread this year, 2-12 ATS, but you're taking a different angle here. What's your play?
Yeah, I've got 3 lightning unders here. We know I love my division rematch unders late in the season. So give me the under 42.5. I don't trust either offense here, and I don't know why you would. The Titans are playing roulette at quarterback. They're second to worst offense on the season. It's Mason Rudolph against a Colts defense that's kind of quietly getting pretty good. They're 8th defensively in the last 6 weeks. Titans defense, we've talked about them a bunch. They've been pretty good this season, as bad as the offense has been. Now, I do think the pass defense is fading. It's Anthony Richardson. The Colts can't pass the ball anyways. They're bottom 5 for the season passing the ball with Richardson. They're supposed to be good running, but they're bottom quarter of the league running the football over the last 6 weeks as well with them, even though, heaven forbid, Jonathan Taylor dropped the ball at the goal line again there as well. Both of these units are better in the spot they're at, meaning the Titans are better on the road defensively by like 10 spots in the rankings. The Colts are better by that many spots at home in the rankings defensively. So I think it's a good spot for the defense here. Usually profitable betting and under in this sort of range that is dropping a little bit. Sometimes that scares bettors off, but usually that should tell us actually that we're on the right side because the other smart guys are betting this direction as well. And we're still above some key numbers here. And then some of my late season division trends, week 14 or later, home favorite under 7. The game goes under in a division game 57% of the time. Total 40-47 goes under 56% of the time. Colts do fit that must-win trend we just talked about. So they should be careful too. I think the Titans could be alive here. I think it's low scoring. I think it's close. Give me the under 42.5.
Yeah, Rudolph does make them better. And you like another divisional game here. So why don't you just keep going with this under, and then I can give you one more thing before your next under.
Yeah, we'll go Eagles, Commanders, under 45.5. We already bet the Eagles in this game, -2.5 on the look ahead. We're on the other side of the key now, -3.5, so that's looking good. Similar case here. Eagles defense is rolling. Vic Fangio masterclass. Like, they are the best at everything defensively. Washington's defense has been the weak link. That's why I like the Eagles. But look at those Eagles injuries. We talked about Saquon already. I'm not sure that he's totally healthy. A.J. Brown rolled his ankle last game. Lattimore's finally playing, it looks like, for Washington. Dallas Goedert is out. Philadelphia is a very top-heavy offense, and they're missing or limited on some of these stars here. And Washington has been a top 10 defense in the first half, where we know the Eagles don't score that well early. So I think this could be kind of just ugly, low-scoring early. Last month, they played 26-10 until a garbage touchdown with 30 seconds left. And it still went under, even with that one. 5 of the last 6 Eagles games finished 44 or below, all but against the Rams, who are scoring so many points. So we're trending that way. Washington, when they play non-playoff teams, is averaging almost 31 points a game. 4 games against playoff opponents, which the Philadelphia Eagles clearly are, down to 22 points a game. So pretty huge difference there. Some of those same late division trends. Outdoors, 62% to the under for a week 14 or later division matchup. And Sirianni, you bet the under for him on the road, 61%. I like the under 45.5 points on Eagles Commanders.
Yeah, I was surprised to see the Eagles are 9-5 to the under this year. And honestly, since 2000, they've only hit 10 unders in a single season 3 times. So they're not usually this type of offense, but you're right. They're top heavy and their defense is incredible. Okay. Minnesota and Seattle, I'm going to steal your thunder, but Flores is 19-12 to the under in Minnesota. He was even under in Miami. So, it's kind of the direction that defense brings to the table. What do you got here?
Yeah, no division here, but just another under. Give me the under 42.5. Really important game this weekend. Very playoff feel, especially for Seattle. Minnesota actually controls their destiny for the 1 seed now. If they win out, despite the tough schedule, Seattle, I think, is going to be licking their wounds a little bit. This defense, as much as we've talked them up, they got smoked. They got absolutely crushed last week against Green Bay at home in Seattle. And I think this is a spot where you're going to come out angry. They're going to want to look really good. And you've got Minnesota on a short week flying across the country west, and you got Sam Darnold on the road in a pretty tough, loud road environment against that angry 12th man Seattle defense. I like that defensively. On the other side, like you said, Brian Flores is going to bring the heat, and Seattle's offensive line has not held up. So either you get banged up Geno Smith, which looks like he'll be able to go at least starting out, Or you get Sam Howell, who takes a sack like once every drive. And man, if I could like live bet the sack total if Sam Howell checks in, give me that possibility. Seattle's offense has been worse at home. Their defense has been better at home. Zach Charbonnet is popping up on the injury report now with Kenneth Walker still out. It looks kind of windy and rainy. It's in Seattle. You mentioned the Vikings stat to the under, 9-5 this season on the under. I think Seattle's moving toward the under with Mike McDonald as well. So just another under here, close, competitive playoff sort of game. Vikings Seahawks under 42.5.
All right, and finally your last pick. I don't have much of a tease for Arizona and Carolina because you wouldn't really be watching unless you had a bet. So give us one.
Yeah, I just want a James Conner rushing over. And look, I don't even have a line yet, but I like it so much I just wanted to give it out anyways. The Panthers are getting better at a lot of stuff. We know that. They were terrible last week, but Bryce Young's getting better. The offense is improving. The pass defense is improving. The one thing that has not improved at any point this season is they're still the league's worst run defense. And there are some bad run defenses. So if you're the worst, you are really the worst. They're especially bad up the middle. That's where Arizona lives. That's where they're at their best with James Conner. And with Conner, he's got some weird numbers. He has 4 games this year at 33 yards or less, where he just like disappeared. Wasn't part of the game plan. Usually that's against a really good team and like a bad loss. So they just kind of went pass heavy. I don't think that's going to happen against Carolina. That's not the situation here. Because those games are in his stats, they're bringing his average down. And I think that they're kind of reflected in a softer line than we should be getting. The line for Conner last week was 63.5. It's going to be higher than that because the books know Carolina's run defense isn't any good either. But Conner has half of his games this year, 86 yards or more. When he gets 16 or more carries in 10 games this year, he's averaging 89 yards a game. I don't know what the line's going to be, not 63.5, but I think anything below 75, give me the James Conner rushing yards over.
Yeah, and that Carolina defense has been a sieve. So, I mean, if that's the game plan and they should want to get Kyler off his horse, especially in Carolina, maybe in a cold game that he's not used to, may as well give it to his workhorse. All right, we've got 3 picks left here. Now, these are look-aheads. So you've got one this week or next week, and then you're going to talk about Christmas Day. So give us the week 17 look ahead first.
I started working on the look ahead. I was like, guys, I don't know. It's kind of an ugly slate. I don't have that many bets for this week. So let me just add in a few extra look aheads. Let's go Christmas look ahead. And then what do you know? We came up with like 9 bets for the slate this week anyways. That's all right. It's the season of giving. Let's give out some look ahead. So here's your traditional look ahead first. Sticking with the theme we just had, it's another division under. Cowboys, Eagles. Give me the under 45.5. Speaking of gifts for Christmas, somehow this game is one of 2 games in the late afternoon slate next Sunday afternoon. I don't know what we did to deserve that sort of cool in our stocking, but we got all the island games. We've got Christmas games. We got Thursday night. We got 3 on Saturday. We got a Monday night game, Sunday night game. Guess what? We got Cowboys, Eagles on Sunday afternoon. Not a good one anymore. We already kind of made the case here. We talked about both these defenses already. The Vic Fangio Eagles defense, number 1 at basically everything right now. Cowboys defense, especially against the pass, has been much better. And I know they can't stop the run, and the Eagles can run. I'm good with that. Run the ball. Do one of your 20-play drives and just slowly chew the clock up. 13-minute drive? Please, sir, may have another. Let's just run the clock out. It was 34-6 Eagles last time they played. Cooper Rush in that game threw 45 yards. You didn't miss a number at the beginning of that. 45. Double digits, not triple digits. In Cooper Rush games, those games are averaging 42 points a game. He's finished 44 or below 9 of those 12. So 75% of his games hit this number. That Eagles-Cowboys game we just talked about was 43.5. This number is 45.5 here, 44.5 at one book. That's a key number, so it's already starting to drop a little bit. One thing that did pause me a little bit here, we just talked about, I bet Sirianni road unders and usually home overs. This is a home game for the Eagles. However, like you said, this is an Eagles under season. They're 5-2 to the under even at home this season. Some of those usual division rematch trends fit here as well, including one. I mentioned the Eagles have gone under 5 of the last 6. If they go under again this week, like we thought, week 14 and 4 division matchups where the home team has gone under at least 80% of their last 5 games. So basically 4-1 or 5-0 to the under, 59% to the under in this game. Forecast is wind and rain. It's late in the year. I just don't think we're going to get a lot of points in this one. So on the look ahead for week 17, Eagles, Cowboys, under 45.5 points.
Yeah, and shop there. It looks like it's even dropping at a few spots, but I do see a 45.5 or two left. So make sure you find it. All right, 2 Christmas Day look aheads. Open up the presents now. Get them under the tree. What do you got for us?
Yeah, we don't get to record before Christmas next week, so I figured, we'll be on Sunday night. But let's go ahead and get some early Christmas picks in. Both sides here. None of these niche, crazy, whatever bets. All that's available right now is sides. So let's start with the first one. Steelers, Chiefs in Pittsburgh. The Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites. I think that's a mistake. Give me the Steelers plus 2.5 at home. I don't know that we can make this Chiefs team right now a road near field goal favorite against a pretty good playoff team. I make this by my numbers with healthy Mahomes, Pittsburgh minus 0.5 point. So slight favorite at home with Mahomes healthy. Mahomes is not healthy. Either we're getting the Chiefs on 4 days of rest with a banged up Patrick Mahomes, or, and here's the key, Carson Wentz. We might be getting Carson Wentz, especially if the Chiefs win this weekend. They're in pretty good shape for the 1 seed. They would be in a really good spot to just give Pat a week off, give him a chance to catch his breath on the short week. This week, the Texans, when we thought Mahomes wasn't playing, were minus 2.5 road favorites to Kansas City. Now that Mahomes is back in, right now they're minus 3.5 to the Chiefs. That is a 6-point swing, and that's kind of the bet here. I think that I like Pittsburgh anyway, but I love that we might possibly go from like Pittsburgh plus 2.5 to minus 3.5 or minus 4, swing all the way through those key numbers. It's a great rah-rah spot at home. In all likelihood, it's probably coming off of a loss. If we're being fair, they're playing the Ravens, who are big favorites. That's better for the rah-rah spot. In fact, after losing to the Ravens, the Steelers are 12-5 against the spread the following week under Tomlin. So that would set up well. And then just the main matchup thing, who's got the best pass rush in the league? It's the Steelers, and those Chiefs have no tackles right now. Do you really want Patrick Mahomes back there banged up on a short week against TJ Watt and Highsmith and all those guys coming downhill all game? I don't know that I see it going very well. So gambling a little bit here, but I think there's a possible huge upside if Mahomes ends up not playing or missing part of the game here. Steelers plus 2.5 first Christmas pick.
Yeah, and those 2.5s are kind of disappearing. So when you listen to this, make sure you shop around and kind of find those. And the other bet I think you would attach to that obviously won't be out until we get much closer to the game, but something like Pittsburgh sacks. Like if you did Pittsburgh and they were still plus money and you attached a 4-5 sack to it, I think it would probably get there. His offensive line, Mahomes, is just kind of falling apart, and I think they're just trying to tape it together. All right, last Christmas Day bet. What do you got?
Last one, we got Baltimore, Houston. It's these same teams playing Saturday. That's why they're playing Saturday, because we got this Wednesday, Christmas Day thing. So we're flipping opponents. I like the Ravens, minus 2.5 at the Texans. Come on, we already knew where this was going. I'm betting on Ravens, Super Bowl futures and all this stuff. I've been fading Texans all season long. Texans are now number 1 defense by DVOA for the season. The Ravens are number 1 offense. When you get number 1 offense versus number 1 defense, elite offense tends to beat elite defense. And you know when it especially does? With 4 days of prep. When you do not get extra time to prepare for Lamar Jackson, I don't love that for you. You get no time to prep for this like wicked, weird Ravens offense. Lamar on under 6 days of rest, 4-1 against the spread. You do not want to have short chance to get ready for him. DeMeco Ryans only had 1 chance on that short of rest. That was this year against the Jets. They lost that game outright, 21-13. They look really flat. I don't trust a newer head coach to have the team ready. I prefer John Harbaugh on the Ravens staff here. I think obviously too, Baltimore's defense is improving. They can hang with the Texans offense, I think, just fine. Texans not good in the second half. Don't mind that, because we know how the Ravens like to choke away the second half things. So let's just get that part out of here. Perception on this game, where the line could go. If Baltimore beats Pittsburgh, they're leading the division suddenly. Houston probably loses to Mahomes if that happens to be the case. And this probably flips to the other side of the key number. And for this game, I'm not sure this game matters so much to Houston. It is Christmas, so maybe just that alone does the trick. But for their seeding, they're pretty much the 4 seed. They already won the division. They're pretty well set here. Like Joe Mixon's banged up. Do we need to risk him on a short week, etc.? this could be a playoff matchup. I don't know if you show your cards that much as Houston with not much to play for. Baltimore either will win this week and they're playing to keep the division and the home game, or they lose this week and they're not even a playoff team yet. They got to like still go out and win their way into the playoffs at that point and not fall too far down into the standings. So I think from a motivation standpoint, I like the spot for Baltimore as well. There is a -3 out there already. I want it below the key number. One big book has -2.5. Grab the Ravens -2.5 on Christmas Day.
Yeah, you took it kind of words out of my mouth that it's a numbers play because you're assuming this will get up to 3 depending on the results of the weekend. All right. We've delivered, I believe, at least 30 bets on this podcast between me and Brandon going back and forth between the entire slate. This has been the Action Network podcast for our NFL Week 16 Best Bets episode. Now, don't forget to download the free award-winning Action Network app to see more from all of our Action Network contributors. Plus, you can track your own picks. Also, make sure to check out our Action Network Discord to chop it up with experts, fellow gamblers during these games. I'm on there. Tons of other people are on there. You can just, text us, talk to us, Discord us. There's a link in the description of the podcast. Don't miss our Week 16 betting preview episode with Stuckey and Raybon, which is out now. And we'll be back next week with more best bets, me and Brandon. Thank you for listening, and good luck with all your bets over the slate this weekend.